What's up YouTube? My name is John Jagsney and today we are talking about how to make some neon text in Premiere. Super easy, just using a couple effects. I do recommend doing this in After Effects if you have the time, but if you don't, that's okay too. You can do this in Premiere super easily. So let's dive right into Premiere and figure out how I made this cool neon-like text effect. Alright, so first things first, let's make one thing clear. Premiere is mainly an editing program, not a visual effects program. So we're not going to have as many controls as we might have in, say, After Effects, but we can still do the same thing in some fashion. So to do that, what we're going to do is first have some footage on our timeline because it just looks better. If you want to just have it as is and you can put some pictures behind it, that's cool too, but dive into After Effects if you want to do more fancy things. Anyways, so I have some dark footage, just one little cityscape that I have here, or I have some street footage. This is stuff I got from my last trip to New York. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit Control T on the keyboard for text. And we'll see I was already playing with it a little bit, but let's change this a little bit. So I picked this font because I thought it kind of looked neon-y, but you can use any font that you'd like. So we'll go to the Essential Graphics and the text layer, and we'll just change this text to what's something fun and exciting. Halloween is coming up, so let's just say ghosts. Ghosts and stuff or something. I don't know, and that's a song, a really good song. Anyways, I also picked ghost because on my little headphone there's a little ghost, so yeah. Anyways, so we have our text, and the way I got this outline effect is that's actually not the font. If you go into the Essential Graphics text and you scroll down, you'll see the appearance. I unchecked the fill, which got rid of the fill of the text, but if I turn that off, then I can just have the outline. So I have a stroke, make sure I have that text selected. Let's turn that fill back on, so now the center is back in. If I want to get rid of the stroke, but we're just gonna keep that on because it kind of looks neon-y, and if you think about some neon text, it's either gonna be straight lines or it'll be like outlines of letters. Anyways, we have our text on screen now, so what we're gonna do is we're going to select our text on the timeline. We're gonna right click and nest it. We're going to call this neon text control nest. Kind of like a pre-comp in After Effects, but in Premiere it's called nests for some reason. And now when we click on this nest, we'll find our text and we can edit that. And that's the cool part about this effect. We're editing the layer so that when we go into the text layer, we can change the text if we need to. But we'll get there in just a second. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to add a couple effects to a duplicated layer. So we're going to take the first layer, have it selected, we're going to hold Alt on our keyboard and drag directly up. And nothing happened, except we made a second instance of that layer, and this is where the fun happens. So we're going to go and we're going to look up blur. And I like using a Gaussian blur, and we're going to just put that over the text. Once again, nothing happens because there is no blur, but when we set this number to 5, and there's a little blur, and if you click on the little drop down menu here and we zoom in, we can kind of see it's blurring the edges a little bit. Set that to 10 maybe, and that's kind of cool. Then if we go to Lumetri Color, in the color correction tab, we will drag that on, and we're gonna just drag this exposure up. So we're gonna brighten the glow, but now we're kind of losing that blue because we're taking the layer on top and increasing the exposure, making it brighter, making it more white in a way. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the first exposure. We'll turn this down because we're gonna do a couple more duplications. Keep that blue color, but go up on the layer that we just created, go to the blending mode and change that to linear dodge add. And we lost some of that blur, but we can sort of turn that up a little bit. Now we get more of a blurred glow, but we're still retaining that color and that sharpness of the line. So when you think of like a neon light, when you go to some hipster place or you just Google image search, you'll see that it has the harsh lines where you can see the light, but then it has a little bit of a glow. So let's turn that first layer down a little bit. So let's knit that maybe to like, I don't know, 15. So we just get a slight amount of glow around the edges. Let's turn on repeat edge pixels. We can change the exposure up or down if you like, want it brighter or darker, whatever else. But if we want to make it bigger and have more of a glow, we'll just duplicate that layer, and then we'll increase the blur a little bit more. Maybe turn up the exposure or down the exposure. I'll just turn it up. And instead of adding a Gaussian blur to this, I'm going to change this. So let's go back to our blur, and we're going to go to directional blur and put that above the lumetri color. And we'll just set the blur length to like 20. And that's cool. So now we get this kind of like up and down streak effect. But if we want to balance it a little bit, let's copy that, Control C, and then paste that. And now we just do the same thing, but we can change the direction. So right now it's just going up and down. So if we just change direction by like just a couple degrees, like 15, it gets rid of those harsh lines, and we kind of just get more of a blurred effect. And then we can just increase that blur even more or less. Just go back to fit. And when it's just here like that, it looks kind of cool. It's neon-y like, and just make sure that the directional blur length is about the same on each layer. I keep in mind I did set the top one to be at an up and down angle, and then the second is going to be at a slightly different angle. And then we can just duplicate that again if we wanted to, and add an even greater amount of blur. So let's go back to our directional blurred layer, which is actually the one in the middle. And then we can just set that to like 40 and 40. Cool, and we're kind of losing the color here, so what we can do now with all those layers on top, we can just set the opacity of those layers to like, I don't know, 50, then the one below that, just set that to 50, just set that to 50 as well, and we're kind of getting that color back. This effect is more or less you being creative, just trying to figure out what kind of looks cool. Now, one big problem, we do have a bunch of layers on top, and we're kind of losing the capability of being able to change this and move this around really quick to our composition, because now if I want to move this text over here, then I have to just drag everything over, and that's not that big of a deal. But if we were animating this, that would be a little bit of a problem. So first things first, let's nest this. So we'll take this nest and put it into a nest, so it's kind of like Inception but with Adobe Premiere. Right click, nest, and we'll call this neon text effect. And we're losing a big aspect of the effect. It's taking all those layer mats, those layer modes, and converting it all to normal. So let's go back into the master nest and just set that back to linear dodge add, and we're kind of getting that same effect. Now this is kind of doing the entire overlay blending mode over the entire effect, so we might get a little bit of transparency through the layer. But if you think about a neon light in reality, they're not 100% opaque. You can still see through them just slightly, so it kind of emulates that style of a neon light. Let's go back to a fitted view, and now the last thing, let's animate this. So let's say hypothetically that you wanted to have the text come on in a special way. So what you can do is you can go inside the text comp and set that keyframe, or a keyframe rather, and set a keyframe wherever you want to, if you want to like have it move from left to right. But I'm going to add a cool little glitch effect that I have, and I got this preset here, and this effect is a little funky. It doesn't work with a couple effects, so if you'll see here, it kind of has this like weird effect. I realize it does not work with the overlay effect, or I'm sorry, not overlay, offset. So let's just turn off the offset, And now we still are getting that same glitchy-like effect. If you're slowing down on me for just a second, hopefully that looks fine. And then we'll just go back and we'll see that it's like, uh-oh, now it's all glitchy. And then it comes back on. And if you want to animate this out, you could just take those keyframes that you have at the beginning and then just copy them to the other side or whatever else, or yeah. So what's cool about this neon effect in Premiere is it's really easy to set up, and you can do some cool things with it, kind of like you could do in After Effects, but this is a lot faster and it's a little bit easier to manage going from project to project. But if you do have the time and you have the design skills where you can bring out a cooler neon effect, I encourage you to do it in After Effects. But then again, you can do this in Premiere super easy, super quick. I hope this was useful to you. If it was, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or anything of that nature. And until then, thank you so much for watching. My name is John Jagsney, and I will see you guys in that next video. Bye!